Hello, hello, my friends, my family, my community, my tribe. Welcome to the Hippie Moms podcast. I'm kind of in a singing mood today. What about you? Did you actually know that singing is really good for you? It shows that it decreases cortisol and is incredible for your immune system. Yes, and our voices are unique to us, obviously, but the tone of our voice is actually healing to our bodies. The tone is this frequency, this vibration that is literally healing to our bodies. So if you're in the shower, you're in the car, sing, sister, sing, let it out. And if you're embarrassed, that's okay too. Start small, just start humming. Even humming is very soothing. Whenever I have a really bad cold or throat thing going on, I always hum or do om sounds so that it can actually help the throat center or throat chakra by just humming. It's incredible. I actually have a funny little story, and then we'll get into the meat of today's podcast. But when I first started dating my husband, Scott, we were in the car, and I remember the song, I Want to Dance with Somebody by Whitney Houston. You know, I want to dance with somebody. I want to feel the heat with somebody. I don't know if that's how it goes. But anyway, it was on. And I was belting it out. I was singing, and I look over, in the corner of my eye, I see Scott, and he's so awkward and deathly, just uncomfortable. And so I turned down the music. I'm like, "What's up?" And he's like, "Nothing." I'm like, "No, what is it? Do you not like to sing? Do you not like it when I sing?" He's like, and it kind of took me some time to get it out. And eventually he told me he was in fourth grade. This is so tragic. He was in fourth grade. He was in choir, and he got an F. He got an F in choir. Because his teacher said he just wasn't a good singer. How sad is that? And so that's the story. That's a story that he has held onto and believed in. And the beautiful thing is, after we had children and he would help put my eldest to sleep after I had my youngest, he was such a wonderful father and really helped with that time when I had the new baby, and Rylan was still pretty attached to me, and so he kind of stepped in and was putting him to sleep and would sing to him every night. And I remember listening to him sing, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you're such a good singer." He's like, "I love singing." I'm like, "I know, it's so amazing." So sing, it's so good for you. And the story, it kind of leads me into the next podcast, are the false beliefs and the stories that we hold on to in our lives that we're either told when we're children, or we pick up through society or through our culture, and we believe them to be true. And for Scott, it was, "I believe I'm not a good singer," when in fact he was a fantastic singer. And it doesn't mean you have to be a great singer to sing. It just, to sing and to hear your voice and allow your voice to be heard is extremely healing to your body and to others, because you're giving people permission. So that's what this podcast is about, the false beliefs that we carry, the self-limiting beliefs. And we will, of course, dive in to this so much more. I have some incredible guests that I want to have on to talk about this in the future. But today I want to share a very deep and vulnerable story with you. Sorry, I'm getting a frog in my throat. I need to sing some more. Okay, so before we go into the story, wherever you are, unless you're driving, right, you can still take a deep breath, but we're going to take a deep breath together. So just empty all the air from your lungs. Breathe through your nose, inhale, and just sigh it out. I always feel so good after a deep breath. Why don't we use our breath more? I think that's so important. I knew nothing about the breath early on in motherhood, and this is where my story begins to really talk about the false beliefs. So if you listen to my preceding two podcasts, you've heard the stories about me, about my awakening. And so this story happened actually after I met Kelly, right? She was my mentor. She was my guide and kind of showing me a different path, a different way, and kind of elevating my understanding of living just more in alignment with nature, more in alignment with myself, and with how really we've been created to live. And I remember trying to implement all this. And I was in this phase of my life where I was just trying to make it all perfect, right? Like I said, I'm a recovering perfectionist. And I just remember I was, buying all these supplements. I would watch like anything by Dr. Axe or, the Truth About Cancer series, if any of you have watched that. And I swear I bought like every single supplement that they recommended on there. I bought some like bitter apricot seeds because they are really high in B17. I bought like spirulina and chlorella and all this stuff. And I was just trying to implement all this, right? I was spending a lot of money. I was buying all the superfoods. I was trying to get my kids to eat healthier. We're going to talk a lot about, like I said, about getting our kids to eat healthy because I think it's really hard. We have these high expectations before kids that, our kids are going to eat perfectly. They're going to be perfect. And then really in the reality, they're not. They don't. And so what can we kind of do to help that? But in this moment, in time, let's see, my eldest was four and a half maybe, and my youngest was 2. And I remember waking up this one morning and I was exhausted. I am an attachment parenting mother. I breastfed both of my kids until they were over 2 years old. And so I was still breastfeeding Ryder. I think this is kind of almost near the holidays of, let's see, that would be about four and a half years ago. And I'm well into my journey of like trying to change trying to change everything, trying to like make things better for my family and for me. And I had my community of hippie moms, right? But I didn't have my mentors, people that I could be like, is this important? Or do I need to do that? Do I need to do this? And hippie moms was still just growing. We were just really growing and I was kind of leading the way, kind of like the blind leading the blind. But regardless, I was still learning so much. So I remember this one day, I woke up, I was exhausted. Ryder had been up and down, and I remember Ryland had been up. And just not getting enough sleep is so overwhelming when we're not getting that regenerative healing sleep that we need, that we all need. And as moms, we don't get it. We don't get it for that period of time. And I can kind of get why, it's so much better to have your kids in your 20s, because while I was partying and drinking and staying up late and totally functioning, in, this crazy time in my life, I see why having kids during that time is better, because you can kind of go without sleep and still be okay. But as you move in your 30s and 40s, it's just not as easy. And so I just remember waking up and I was just sad about the day. I was like, oh, not this again. Like I have to go through all of this again, this whole process, feeding. And I don't even know if I'm going to get time for myself or if I'm going to take care of myself. I just remember waking up and I was just like, shit, here we go again. So I get out of bed. I'm like, the kids are up early, of course. I'm like dying to sleep in, and I'm just getting all of them situated. And the day goes on, and it's a long day, right? My husband's at work. The kids are home. I'm tired. I am irritable. At this point, I remember I was in my luteal phase, so that I was, having that PMS. And at that time, my hormones were horrible. Out of whack. I wasn't really taking care of myself. I was super stressed. I had no idea what the gut microbiome was, so I wasn't taking care of that, which is, as you will learn, I believe is so important. A lot of my work that I do now and offer my clients is all about gut healing. So I was a mess. I was depressed, and I was just like trying to make it all happen. And then the afternoon came, and my husband had a late meeting at work, and so he called me and he's like, I'm going to be like 2 hours late. I'm sure you're going to go freaking, drink with your buddies or whatever. I was just pissed. I was like, why aren't you here? Like to help me. And of course he was working. He was stressed too. He was trying to support a mom and 2 kids and make me happy and make the kids happy and be all of that. And, I look back and I just feel so bad how much shit I gave my husband. But in this day, I was given a lot of shit. I was so pissed. I was so tired of being in this place and space. And I wanted to just run away. And I just had it up to here. And here's the moment, ladies. Here's the moment where I just lost it. So I was in the kitchen and I was trying to get Ryder some food, and I just finished breastfeeding him, and I was exhausted. My left boob, like he would only eat from my left boob. So my left boob was huge and my right boob was like flat. I'm super flat anyway. So I had like these totally imbalanced breasts, right? And I just remember my left breast hurt. My right boob was small. I just felt so like not sexy and just like so insecure and not confident and just believing I was like this horrible mother. And I remember Rylan just came up and he wanted something sweet. And I said, no, honey, you're going to have that after dinner. And he would not let up. For an hour, he was having a fit, and he would come over, he'd pull on my leg and try to get me to do it. And obviously I've created this behavior. I realize this now. I created this behavior because what I would do is I'd say no, and then he'd beg, and then I would say yes. And this time I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm trying to change my ways. I'm trying to say what I do what I say, which I still struggle with now, to be honest with you, right? But I'm getting better. And it's, what I love the saying is that you are perfect now and there's always room for improvement. I can't remember who it's from, but I love that quote because you are right now perfect. But of course there's room for improvement. There's always ways that we can improve our lives and do things differently to create the life that we want. And I was in this moment, my stomach hurt. I don't even think I've eaten all day, right? I've probably snacked on a couple things here and there. I'm not even eating, taking care of myself. And I'm a hot mess. I'm PMSing. And I remember Rylan just came up to me and he's screaming at me. And I lost it. I got to the point where I was just absolutely done. I get down on my knees. I look at Rylan in the face. I grab his shoulders and I yell at the top of my lungs, shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up. And I look at him. He stops. He turns white. And I feel the whole dread and mom guilt. And I start crying. And I fall on the floor. And I am a puddle of tears. Because I'm just like over it. I'm so tired. I'm so empty. My cup is so empty and I have nothing left. Oh, I'm crying. And Rylan he'd never seen me lose it like that. And his face is white. And I will say he did stop asking me for a treat. But I'm laying on the floor and I'm crying. And you know what he does? He comes up to me, he puts his hands in my face and he says, Mommy, it's okay. I'm sorry, Mommy. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. And I said, no, baby, I'm sorry. Mama just doesn't know what to do. And I'm crying and we just hold each other. We hold each other and I am just so embarrassed and I'm so ashamed and I feel so guilty. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I just traumatized my child for life. I just he's going to hold this forever and now he's going to do this to his kids. And of course, that's going through my head. And this was my moment. This was the moment where I felt my body, like the demands of stress, the demands of motherhood had just had its way with me. And I was done. I was done not taking care of myself. Putting the stress of living this perfect life, of having perfect kids, of having the house cleaned and all the roles that we play. I was done. And so this was my moment. This was my moment that I really had to look at my life. What's the saying? An unexamined life is not a life worth living. And I can't remember who said that, but hopefully I'll put that in the show notes, the quotes. And so this was the moment that I realized that I needed to take care of myself. I was trying to take care of everyone, trying to make everything perfect. I was on this path of living more holistically, but I was so overwhelmed because there was so much information. I didn't know that I didn't need tons of supplements and superfoods. You don't. The beautiful thing is you don't need tons of supplements and superfoods. You just need real whole food. And we'll talk more about food because I love talking about food. I love talking about how we can nourish our body and make our food more nutrient dense and what to look for, what to not, all of that. I'll share that on our journey together. But in this moment, I knew that I had this belief that I had to keep it all together, that I had to be this perfect wife and mom. And And this is where we have to start really examining our beliefs and what are the stories we're telling ourselves. And I didn't really understand that this is a journey, that we make these small changes. I mean, just by simply waking up and drinking more water every day is a beautiful step to health. It's so simple. You don't have to jump in right away. You don't have to go to A to Z. Sometimes you go to A to B and then maybe B to J, and then maybe you go back to D. I don't know. It's a journey. And if we can just take the stress off and really evaluate the stories we're telling ourselves. So this was the moment that I decided I was going to stop waiting to meditate. I was going to stop waiting to take care of myself. I was going to stop waiting to do the things that I need to do so that I can show up as a mother. I can show up as a human being in my life that I wanted to be. And I was really looking at, like, this isn't who I want to be. This isn't the mother I want to be. I don't want to lose my shit because my kid is begging me for a treat. I need better tools. But overall, I can withstand. I can tolerate. I am strong. Him, crying and whining for an hour. Like, I can tolerate that as if I am in good health. I have good sleep. I have meditated. I have connected with myself. I have nourished myself. My body's not stressed. I can take on a level of stress, but when we are stressed from not being nourished, not sleeping, not being outside, not moving our bodies, not connecting with ourselves, then we don't have a big threshold for stress. And so this is where we must come in and really look at our lives, examine our lives, and see where we are not taking care of ourselves. And I remember once thinking that not taking care of ourselves, or that taking care of ourselves was selfish. Taking care of myself, putting my health first, putting myself first was selfish. But after this experience, I realized that not taking care of myself was actually extremely not serving of my family. They deserved a better version of me. They deserve the best version of me. I want to show up in my life as the best version. And I'm not saying we need all these crazy, expectations of ourselves. I just want to grow. I want to get better every day. I want to be able to breathe before I respond, or, maybe choose not to say anything rather than just blurting out something that is hurtful and in the moment. And I still struggle with this, especially with my youngest. I revert to a 5-year-old sometimes with him. Last night we were swinging in the hammocks, and I was like, okay, we had such a lovely time. And for so long, I wouldn't take these moments out of my day with my children, right? I would just, all it was about is getting to bed. In my head, I'm like, once they're in bed, I have a moment to myself. Now they're in school, I have more moments to myself. So those mamas at home, especially now homeschooling with kids, I feel you. I love you. I just keep going. Just keep going and take care of yourself. Examine in your life where you can take care of you, where you can carve out time in your day for you, whether it's just locking the door. I remember locking the door and going in my bathroom and just shutting the door and locking it and just saying, Mom just needs a moment. I just need a darn moment. So quickly, I'll end on this note. I'm really trying to take time during my day when my kids get home and be present with them, because I can get into it. I need to clean. I need to do all the things. They never stop. But what doesn't stop either is our kids don't stop growing up. These moments, what we have them in, these precious moments, they're not going to be there. They're going to be adults one day, hopefully. And we're not going to have these moments back where we can really look at these beautiful faces and look at their eyes and notice how the sun hits their hair. And so yesterday I was very frustrated with Ryder. My youngest, he triggers me so much. And he came home with dirty shoes, just got my whole floor filthy with mud, and it'd been snowing. So instead of taking off his shoes, like I ask him 5 billion times a day before he comes into the house, there was just dirt all over, and I was just nagging on him, like, pick up this, do that. And finally I'm like, okay, gosh, I'm even actually getting sick of myself nagging. So I just stop everything and I go outside and like, hey, do you want to come swing with me in the hammock? And he's like, yes. So we swung in the hammock and we played the humming game where we hum songs. Another great thing that I really encourage my kids to do is hum and sing. And we were trying to guess what song we were humming, and it was so fun. And we were having such a great time. We were in there for like 30 minutes. And finally I'm like, okay, we need to kind of get moving. I need to get dinner going. I'm getting hungry. The threshold where it's like everyone needs to eat before this time, before everybody gets so hangry. And he's like, Mama, 5 more minutes. I'm like, okay. So we have 5 more minutes. And finally I'm like, let's go. And he's like, all right, fine. He gets out and I'm like, hey, can you grab this blanket for me? He's like, no, you bring it in because I brought it out. And I'm like, well, can you just help me for a second, get it out off of me so I can get up? He's like, no, you do it. I'm like, well, why don't you ever help? And here I go right back into it. Like I literally revert to a 5-year-old. But then I realized I don't want to be a 5-year-old. I want to be a 41-year-old woman. I want to be more mature than my my 6-year-old child. And I took a breath and I just stopped and I grabbed the blanket. I got up and I just moved on, right? Instead of like reverting back to the 5-year-old. So in this message and in this time, in this podcast, I guess there's a couple things. Is we need to examine our life. We need to examine the stories that we tell ourselves and the crazy expectations that we put upon ourselves that drive ourselves crazy, because really we are the source of that craziness. It's not our children. It's not our husband. I'm sorry, it's not. It's not our husband. We can't blame anyone for the struggles we have. And that's why it is vital that we take care of ourselves. We nourish ourselves. We move our bodies. We get outside in nature. We drink water. We hydrate. And we spend quality time with our family connecting. And even that, maybe that seems like so much on top of what you do, but it's really priorities. And that's what I'm trying to tell you here, is that these are priorities. Taking care of you, eliminating the external and internal stresses on your life that we create because we choose not to take care of ourselves, doesn't leave much time or space for the other stresses that we have no control over. Okay? So that's it, my friends. That is how we move forward. And as we move forward in this podcast, in the next couple episodes, I'm really going to share more of my journey and more of things that I do that have helped me become the person I want to be. And I've made a pact. 2 years ago, I made a pact. I am going to become the most optimal version of myself. And that's what I'm going to do. And I want you to come with me. I want you to become the most optimal version of you, because you know what? We only have one darn life to live. So it's time to live that. Okay? All right. I love you, my friends, my family, my community, my tribe. Thank you for joining me. And I cannot wait to connect with you on the next episode. I love you all. Bye.